Whether we are there or not, ITSP Magazine still gets the best stories. Plenty of conferences and events spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli go on location and sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity.
Marco.
So, Sean, Florence, where are you?
New York, where are you?
Florence, I just said that.
I know, but where are you?
I don't know.
That's what
I can tell you where I would like to be. I would like to be in Melbourne right now.
We would like to be in Melbourne.
Yes.
It's beautiful, it's sunny, it's early morning. The next day for you guys.
That's right.
It's the future. So what's going on?
You are the future.
You are. Well, you're in Melbourne, and you're Tim Brown, and you're a good friend, and you are at the CyberCon in Melbourne. So there you go. Podcast is done. See you later.
That's right. You're having fun, you're having some tea, you wake up, and it's a sunny day. Remember, do you have a view of the, I have to ask, do you have a view of the river?
Yeah, you do.
Fabulous river.
There you go. Us.
It's liking the bridge and everything. Look at that.
Very nice.
The bridge is, it's beautiful out, and the sun's coming out.
It is. It is. And you're there for CyberCon, but also an RSA conference, CISO boot camp. We're going to talk about both of those things today. And I'm sure many of our listeners and followers know of you. Yeah.
I've had meetings.
I don't know how you want to frame it, but there's been some stories about you that I'm sure people have read about, and you're talking about now, and so we'll probably have deeper conversations on that in the future. But for those who aren't aware of who Tim Brown is, what you're up to, why are you there in Melbourne, and then we'll get into some of the things you've been doing there and dig into some of those topics.
Yeah, sounds great. So, Tim Brown, CISO for SolarWinds. I've been here for 8 years. So I went through our incident about December 2020, and really have managed the process flow from a major incident, the recovery from that incident, building trust back within the company, to the company being sold in February to private equity. So we really have gone through the downside of an incident to, steady state, being exemplary to the upside of, recovery, and then, eventually selling to private equity and, really success at the end, right? Be able to recover. And, with that process, we had things like I was the first CISO to ever been charged by the SEC. So that happened a couple of years ago. We're in the middle of trying to get a settlement complete. We've got a settlement proposed, and we're just waiting for finalization of that. That should be coming, sometime in the near future. So and Sean, you and I go back many, way too many years.
And then a few more years beyond that, I think. But good stuff. Building good things. Building good things.
Yeah.
Not as long, but as, long enough.
So, and the whole process interesting, right? So I never, dreamed about, people want selfies with me. It's really kind of,
that's cool. You're a good dude, and worthy of a selfie, regardless of any of the stories and situations you've had publicized about you. But it's just, I know we've had some conversations over the years, and I appreciate you as a friend. I value all the work that you do in this world of CISO-ness and contributing back to the community. And I know others do too. And a lot of people have tremendous respect for you. And I'm excited to know that a chapter is going to close for you that gives you space to do even more, personally and professionally. And I'm sad to not be in Melbourne. I cheers to you with a pint of something fun. Hopefully soon we'll get to do that. But aside from friendship being there, I think you're involved in some cool things. A lot of times I don't get invited because technically a journalist, and CISO boot camps, they don't like journalists.
CISO boot camp is Chatham House rule. So can't really talk about what we discussed, of course, but I can talk about the concept, and it's a fantastic concept, and really thrilled that RSA has sponsored it, both in San Francisco as well as here. And so that was all day yesterday.
And so give us the gist of that. So you're at the one in San Francisco as well. So what's the goal? What's the expected outcome? Who's usually there? You expect CISOs, but our conversation before we started leads me to believe that pre-CISO folks get to join as well.
Yes. So really, pre-CISOs or CISOs at smaller companies, you have to apply and to be able to be accepted into the program. So somewhere around 100, and some were in Australia. Good group, very active, very participating. And the idea is to be able to take, people that are looking to become a CISO or are a CISO at a smaller company and they want to shift to something else, and be able to help build their knowledge, build their base of people that they can go to, build the community around them so they have, folks to ask questions to, build up mentors, and bring that knowledge to them so that they're ready and they can be successful in that, that next role, or that, role to a CISO or role to a bigger CISO. So really it's all about the people and the participants there. RSA, does a great set of speakers. So, the program was, really practical, hands-on folks that are telling them different stories about, hey, what is it like for this? How should you think about, one of the people talked about recruiting. How should you think about recruiting the right people? What should you be looking for from people? Somebody talked about I talked about the incident, what went on, just hadn't asked me anything. Another, company talked about their experience of, going from, a little bit of security 20 years ago to a good security program along the way, and what they were looking for as a CEO, what he was looking for from a security partner. So really a lot of great practical content, and useful content to be able to hear that. The CISO community has a lot of these venues, and some of the really good ones give you that type of information. But for the wannabe CISOs or about to be CISOs, this is the only one that I know of that is really set up that well.
Tim, we were talking about a little bit before start recording, and you said something like context. And I'm a big fan of context in everything, because you can read something, you read a headline, people jump to conclusion nowadays, especially with social media. Nobody wants to get deep into things. But when you actually share experience, you were mentioning that sometimes people have a different picture than what actually did happen, especially when you bring your own experience. And I'm sure, like you, everybody else is bringing their own experience, and it's more candid conversation than be in front of a camera or interviewed. So describe a little bit what is that community like, and maybe even what your personal adventure, I'm going to call it adventure, meant and is meaning for the CISO role in the community itself.
Yeah, so the context one is important. One of the things that we learned through the incident process is the written word just was not enough to communicate appropriate context. People want to speak. They want to talk. Even if it's virtual, they still want to talk. And 90% of the conversations are very in line with what we wrote down, right? This information is very well written down, but for them to hear something and hear their context, right? They hear the context of, us taking 6 months off of development and new features to focus on security and build systems. Easy to say, but well, what does that mean? That means 400 engineers focused completely on this for 6 months, and a pure focus. When you say it with words, when you say it with emotion, it conveys the real cost and context of that, right? Written down, you guys know I had a heart attack in Zurich. I'm going back there next week. But that was the week that I was announced. So people feel that emotion of, that's, they understand mental health, they understand stress, they understand it at a real level when you talk about it, as opposed to just, reading on the some blog. So the verbal communication, super important. And then when we look for the CISOs in this boot camp, letting them know that important, letting them know they have to be able to train to be able to speak to people in the right context. Our relationships really matter inside the company, outside the company, whether an incident's going on or not. How do you partner with your executive team? How do you appropriately communicate to them and the boards? So a lot of that type of knowledge is not necessarily known for these junior people. So how do we help them get prepared for that? Because your board doesn't want all the techie, ins and outs of every, vulnerability that you have. What they want to know is what risk you're at, and how you communicate that needs to be the right level. And it's usually verbally. So, teaching some folks that and getting them started on that path, hugely important.
Yeah, and then so much running through my mind just as you talk about this, and context matters. Your context matters, but I think equally important to somebody approaching the role, in the role, is their own context, and
Absolutely.
to be able to have a conversation with you and with others around them to say, all right, Tim had a hard time, mentally challenging, physically challenging, had a heart attack. What does that mean for me?
Right.
How do I take Tim's experience and understand it in my own context, in my own environment, with my own technology, with my own team, with my own mindset? How do I function compared to how you function? And there are other peers like me that maybe we could have a conversation and leverage what you have learned and experienced to find something that's going to work for me.
Exactly. And, managing stress and other things, very personal, right? How you do it is very much up to you. And, most folks in this field love stress, right? We thrive on change. We thrive on new things happening. We get excited about things like AI changing the world and what it's going to give us, because it's change, it's different, it's learning, all of those things. But at the same time, we have to realize stress builds up, and how you have appropriate outlets, very personal, very dynamic of what's good for you. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, I compartmentalize. That's what I do, right? I leave work at work, and I don't, bother my wife with what's going on at work very often at all. And one of the things she told me the other day is, you can talk to me, but I know this is your safe place, and it is my safe place. It is my context away from everything that goes on at work, and that allows me to de-stress. Well, then I can come back to work. So for me, that works, but that doesn't work for everybody. So people need to figure out what they do to be able to manage stress appropriate.
For sure. So I'm actually looking at the website for the event, and the theme is transform to evolve. So pretty in tune with what you're saying now, right? Like, don't be stubborn and and be ready for change and excitement, but also the word resilience obviously come to mind as well. And I know that that's such one of the things that you present on the keynote, because we talk about what you've done. People listening to these, unless it's already after the event, you still have a keynote to do there at the CyberCon in Melbourne. So what are you going to present there? Resilience, preparing for major accident, and of course, again, a lot to learn from you.
So lessons learned really at different stages of an incident, what it was like going through it, give people context about what you're going through, how culture fits into it as well. People are a big part of the response, and does your team get along? How come your team gets along or doesn't get along? Have you built that relationship with the team that's going to do the response? Do you know who they are? Those very important things to do before something happens. One of the things that we got really lucky with is that we really operated through the war room team on implicit trust. If we didn't, we would be second guessing what other people did. My CIO had to get every box in the entire environment monitored by CrowdStrike. They had to get it deployed. They had to get it running. Then they had to do investigation. And then they had to determine, are they still there? And did I have to worry about that? No. The CIO's got it, right? And I listened to his report at night at 9 o'clock every night, but I didn't need to waste my cycles on what his job was. I didn't need to waste my cycle on the engineering folks that were trying to figure out, how they got into the build system, how they did those types of things. I had complete confidence that they did that. Marketing, same thing. General counsel, same thing. So everybody knew their roles, and we had trust between us that we were able to do it. Therefore, we could move very quickly and not second guess. So the trust and the relationships that you build before, super important. So we'll talk about that type of context and how really community and how your people and how your culture really drives how you do when you're doing one of these things. So that's the other kind of flavor. And I'll talk about that through the days, the weeks, the months, the years of post-incident on, and then also what I was thinking for each one of these stages. So it's usually a pretty well-received model. And back again to the context verbally, I shift people accuse me of changing all my words every time I do one of these. So it's definitely not the same way that I speak about it, depending on who the audience is and what they are. Here in Australia, much less litigious than we are in the US. So I won't focus more.
The philosopher that said you never jump into the same river twice. It's always a different river. So you use a different line. Now you're in the future. I love the fact that you don't have a script that you're going to repeat. I mean, I know you. You're very, spontaneous and honest, and and your feelings. I mean, I think just people listening to you right now, they understand who you are. So I think they're in for a nice treat. Anybody that is going to listen.
And to be able to share in a region that I haven't shared before, right? Australia was a great partner to us. The Australian government, I don't remember their CISO equivalent, but they worked with us, in January of 2021, right after the incident. So Australia was a very good partner, and we were on the phone part of it with them for a number of things at the beginning. But I haven't been here for 10 years or so. So prior to SolarWinds. So it's good to be back, and it's good to have context, and it's good to help. That's the big thing of what my mission is, right? If I can share for good, and if I can share for people, and if they get some lessons from it, and it helps them, then this whole saga has been worthwhile.
And in terms of, where was I going to go with this? So you're obviously going to speak to, you mentioned your peers. So you trusted your CIO and the others that probably at the same level as you, kind of handling their own thing. How much of your own team do you describe? Because clearly a lot of dependency and reliance on them. And in there, I look back to our days of building hundreds of products together and multifunctional teams all trusting each other, not under the same management, but the same mission, coming together to accomplish something. And then obviously ambiguity and risk and all this stuff comes together. How much of that do you pull in, and how does it shape how you handled this?
Great question. So depending on the audience, here it will be a broader audience, and absolutely a lot of practitioners, right? And one of the other big lessons is that, my job on December 11th was very different than my job on December 12th. I depended on my team for so much, and my team to step up so much, and my team to act independently so much, because I'm getting pulled in 30 different directions. So they had to, at a moment's notice, take over. I need to have the operation still run, right? And I need to have, just because, we got attacked doesn't mean we're not continuing to monitor, right? I mean, I still have my SOC, I still have my IR, I still have all of the groups are still doing what they need to do. So very important that, that you're in a position and have enough depth within your teams to be able to be there. And the other fact is that the teams were still going through a lot of the stress, right? A number of my folks have been here forever, and very proud of what the platforms were and are. And somebody broke into your house and changed your stuff, and a lot of emotion goes for that, right? And so the teams need to deal with that level of things as well. So it's not just the C-suite that's going, it's everybody in the company that's going through it. So a lot of communications internally help that. And then the folks that step up and participate and don't kind of just, need to run away from the stress, those folks are the ones that, survive and thrive in most incident world. So that's important both to the operators as well as the level of engagement, helpfulness, what you need or help. I think we got very lucky with the team that we had around.
Wow. Well, I know for sure that Sean is going to have you back and have a much more in-depth conversation. This is still part of the on location with, me and Sean. And again, I wish I was there. And for a lot of reasons, it's a great community. We were there last year. So there's no fear of missing out. It's certain that we are missing out. And you're there. And I think reciprocal, you're going to meet, and you're meeting a great community, and they're going to meet you, and they're in for a treat for the keynote. So with this said, best of luck for that. I know you don't need that because you got it. And it was a pleasure to chat with you again. And I encourage everybody to come to the keynote, stay with us, because we already have a couple of episodes in for our remote coverage, and we will have many more even after the coverage itself. We'll talk to other keynotes. We talk to speakers, and the event, it's in the future, of course.
In the future.
15th to the 17th of October, which is already there in Australia and Melbourne, and at the Convention and Exhibition Center, which is a really cool place. Sean.
And I shared a bit of it with Tim earlier before we started recording. I mean, to see Tim is a treat, and always appreciate you, my friend, and I'm sad I'm not there with you. But Godspeed and enjoy everything that Australia has to offer everywhere you go, including the conference. And everybody that's there, definitely connect with Tim and say hello, and the other keynote speakers that they're all taking their time to share with you their own stories and adventures and lessons and thoughts. And remember to take it in context. I think Tim nailed that here today. That context is key. Yeah.
Context is key, and personal connection.
Yeah.
It is key to be able to learn well and be able to get the most out of the conference. So yeah, absolutely. Take time to meet people. If you see me, please just stop and say hi.
Take a selfie.
Do that.
Take a selfie. I'll even him send it to us and we'll share it. Thanks everybody for listening, watching, and staying tuned to all of our coverage on location with Sean and Marco at CyberCon in Melbourne, Australia. Loads of conferences coming up, tech, cyber, all kinds of fun things. So stay tuned and subscribe, share with your friends and enemies, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, Tim. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sean and Marco's On Location event coverage conversations. Please take a moment to give the show a good rating and leave a comment. Remember to share this podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues. Come back for more conversations and follow Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli as they continue their journey toward redefining cybersecurity and society.